fist bump, la bise, dap, high five, hug, handshake. The way we greet one another differs slightly from culture to culture, but humans the world over use some form of physical greeting ritual to say hello. Or at least, we did.
In a matter of weeks, across the world, social norms that have been in existence, as far back as we can go, are taken from us, and it is a strange, uncomfortable feeling.
The COVID-19 pandemic has completely remade our daily lives in ways both large and small, including disrupting one of the most fundamental human instincts, saying hello.
I'm Andy Scott. I currently work in the Foreign Office in the UK. But previous to that, I took a couple of years off and to write this book called One Kiss or Two, The Art and Science of Saying Hello.
While the handshake has become near universal, greeting rituals go back, way back.
Obviously, the very first handshake is not going to be recorded in writing, but using the written sources, we can go back to the writings of Homer, for instance, so the 8th century BC, ancient Greece. And there he refers to people using the handshake to pledge allegiance.
Artwork across the ancient world depicts the act of shaking hands. In ancient Greece, they devoted an entire art form to depicting it. They called it dexiosis, which translates to giving someone the right hand.
More commonly, it's understood at times that we use the handshake ritual began in medieval Europe between knights, and they used it to show that they weren't armed.
That's where most people think the handshake came from. Knights shook hands to prove they didn't have a sword in their hand or dagger up their sleeve. In America, the practice gained widespread popularity from the Quakers of the 18th century. Historian Michael Zuckerman writes that Quakers put the practice of the handshake extended to everyone, regardless of station, as we do still. But this greeting instinct probably predates these examples by a few 100,000 years.
Greetings have been around ever since human beings have been around, and beyond that, and our earlier ancestors too. Chimpanzees and other primates. And looking at them, you see that they also have rituals that they use when they meet each other, when they reconnect. Some people will look at uncontacted tribes, for instance, deep in the Amazon, and there's evidence that they use the handshake. And again, this suggests that it's not just a kind of a new recent cultural invention, but actually it's something deep in our evolutionary history. And I think common with the handshake and the hug and the kiss, many of our most common greetings, is that these reflect behaviours that we used to use in our most common, the strongest bond of all between mother and child. Because in effect, greetings are about reaffirming our bonds, testing our bonds, building relationships.
Greeting rituals aren't just something we do to do them. They serve a vital purpose rooted deep in our evolutionary biology.
We sometimes just view it as a polite thing to do, but actually I still think it does signal that intention to cooperate rather than compete with each other. Because after all, as human beings, we have that potential to get in, almighty great rows and be quite aggressive towards each other. So, it's that signal that we intend to kind of build a relationship with each other.
Unfortunately, being that history has a pesky tendency to repeat itself, this is by no means the first time disease has changed our rituals.
So going back to the 1st century AD, the Roman Emperor Tiberius, he issued a decree banning lip kissing, believing that this was responsible for spreading a fungoid disease, which was disfiguring the nobles. Believe it or not, the English were actually renowned for their kissing and then their intimate greeting rituals. During the plague in England, during the sort of 1660s, you saw the decline of kissing. And then more recently, there was the H1N1 swine flu in 2009, and people were told to stop the physical rituals. Even in France, people asked to stop la bise, the kiss, the cheek-to-cheek kiss. During the Ebola outbreak in 2014, people were asked to stop shaking hands.
So what happens when we can't really signal that cooperation anymore, especially for an extended period of time? And knowing what we know about how disease spreads, do we need to rethink how we say hello?
I guess some of the other things we've been seeing around the world, there was the foot tapping, the elbow bumping, Now, of course, with the new social distancing, we can't even do those anymore. But with those, I think, again, they sort of reflect the theme of cooperation and competition. But the truth is, right now, I guess, none of us really know, and we're making things up as we go, and yet to see which behaviours come out on top.
But are the foot tap and elbow bump, or the namaste as some leaders have promoted, here to stay? Or is the handshake too strong to quit?
In terms of knowing when things are going to change and we're going to be able to revert to our old social norms, it's a real unknown at the moment. But there's something reassuring nevertheless about the fact that we can look back in history and see that we've come through certain epidemics before, and we've reverted back to our old behaviours. There's something of a mismatch between our kind of, the way we are, these intensely social beings that crave human contact, that crave physical contact, but then also, having a brain that can compute and understand that we face this global pandemic, and at times people are really having to try hard to stop certain behaviours. But I think here we're going to have a real understanding collectively as a species and across, be united in our uncertainty. But nevertheless, I think we're still primed to be social beings, and we're still going to find ways to greet each other and acknowledge each other and show that we have these good intentions towards each other.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.